travel a little lighter. I just brought one file about that thick.
he's got a backpack full of treasures.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I do have some treasures in here.
What is that? Oh. This is wild. What's that? Is that the silver?
That's over a pound of silver, raw silver, from one of the John Swift silver mines.
Are you sure it's John Swift silver mine?
It has to be. I asked, my great uncle was a treasure hunter, among other things, but he's the one that got me interested in this. Before he died, he gave me John Swift's journal and another book written.
A copy. Okay.
Yeah, with all the maps and stuff in it. And he gave me a riddle on how to find this mine, an actual riddle, like a paragraph.
And this is your uncle?
Yeah. Great uncle.
And,
so before he died, we were sitting on the front porch, him and my grandfather and I, they're brothers. And I'm like, so Uncle Oscar, where's that silver mine, He's like, oh, you could walk to it from here. And I'm thinking, okay, these are the guys that told me they used to walk to the courthouse and the county seat, which is 35 miles away. Yeah. For the day and then walk home. So I'm thinking,
I'm like, is that humanly possible? They're like, oh yeah, we used to do it all the time.
This is the guy that walked and rode a bike from Florida to Kentucky.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that doesn't really narrow it down,
right.
And then my grandfather interrupted him, and we never got back around to the conversation. So I had to figure out the riddle. And
do you know the riddle now?
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable saying it?
No, I can't.
You can't
say, yeah.
Okay.
But
that's a chunk of silver you got from the mine.
It's raw silver, yeah, that came from the mine.
So you went looking for the mine, and you found the mine, and you found this in the mine.
No, he found that in the mine.
He found this in the mine.
I know where the mine is.
Have you been to it?
No.
Why?
Can't get anybody to go with me.
I mean, I'm saying like,
I know.
Like,
and it's even
I'm so glad
I'm even like, look, I'll share treasure with you if you can just come and dig a hole for me.
I'm not saying this is the way it's going to play out, but I know you're listening right now, Justin. I'll talk to him about it later. Justin knows what I mean. So, okay. So what's this?
This is quartz crystal that's all over the area.
Of the mine?
Where I live.
Where you live?
Yeah, everywhere. And it's got embedded in it is silver, like raw silver in the quartz crystal.
Wow.
There's also been gold.
This is off your property?
Yeah,
the 40 acres you own?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the creek that runs below the property, there's also been found industrial grade diamonds, gold. This is right below the silver mine. So it's
Okay. I don't even want to finish the job today. I just want to go to Kentucky. I want to call a recess on this whole recording and just bail on it.
And another thing about this quartz being everywhere, it's quartz with copper. Quartz, everything in the universe vibrates with a frequency. Quartz has the highest vibrational frequency of anything. So, for instance, that's why there's energy in quartz. That's why your watch has got a quartz crystal in it to power it, or piezoelectric. That's quartz crystal energy. Okay. They actually grow crystals in space because they're more symmetrical, and they use them in electronics. So one of the reasons why just popped in my head recently was, why are these UFOs coming and hovering over this one spot all the time, every night?
Yeah.
There's tons of quartz.
Wow. I mean, that's a great thought. I mean, it is it accurate? Who knows? But it's a great connection to think about. So we haven't even talked about that, but the property you live on now, every night you can record UFOs to the point that you're bored with it.
Right. Yeah.
And I've seen video of like the one, we'll just call it an orb UFO, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You see it flying around, and as it passes by the power lines start sparking.
Yeah. And that was like 6 feet from my window.
Of the
From
house.
me, yeah.
Wow.
When I was filming it.
Wow. We'll get into that later. I don't want to. So the Swift Silver Mine, you know where it's at.
One of them. There's more than one.
There's more than one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know a ton about the Swift Silver Mine. All I know, this is how I found out about it. Justin from Appalachia Intelligence podcast, they found then they were here talking about it. They found a very large rock that had petroglyphs on it, and it looked like it was trying to tell a story. And somehow they were tipped off that the Swift Silver Mine was marked by a rock or something, and so they started going down this idea of the Swift Silver Mine, right? They know where the rock's at. They found it. I have pictures of it. He said, whenever you come up, we'll go and get it and check it out.
Yeah.
That's really all I know much about it. So you're saying there's more than one mine.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting story. The whole story of Swift is pretty incredible. I could give you a little of the history.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, he was I think he was born in 1621 maybe in Alexandria, Virginia. Was a Mason, was in the shipping, had I think he was a privateer, which is basically a pirate, but the Queen sanctions it. So you go out and you try to, steal from other countries' vessels. So he's basically a pirate. He was in Alexandria, Virginia, ran into basically a homeless young kid on the street named Mundy, and showed him some kindness, took him in, took care of him. And in return, Mundy told him his story. Mundy had been with some French fur trappers and kidnapped by Shawnee, and then
natives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then kidnapped by Cherokee from the Shawnee, who kind of adopted him into their tribe, which they did a lot. That was just common practice. But they started using him as labor to mine silver in these various mines that they had. And so he knew where these mines were. And then eventually they trusted him enough to where he could escape. So he escaped, made his way to Virginia, and that's where he ran into Swift and told him this story. And he's like, I can show you where the mines are. I know exactly where they are because you've been so cool to me, So the word is that he sailed to Cuba to pick up a couple of his friends that were silversmiths also. I think Guys and Jeffries was the name. Came back, organized an expedition, and hiked across the Appalachians. And there was two different routes they took. One was up like towards Fort Pitt and down the Kanawha and Big Sandy. But they had what they called the upper mines and the lower mines. So there's more than one mine. And if you look at the different maps, the various maps that show those, where they left rock carvings or signs to show where these mines were. And if you read the diary, it talks about how they would come and they would work these mines and get as much silver as they could. They would even mint coins, English crowns, which turned out to have more pure silver than actual English crowns. And then they would make ingots and what are called pigs, basically like ingots with holes in them that you can run rope through to carry them. But a lot of times they mined more silver than they could carry out. So a lot of times they would disguise the mine by rocking it up, putting brush in front of it and stuff, leave symbols on trees or rocks, and then go back. And he would take the coins and the silver back and buy more ships. And he was really anti-English, so he was helping to fund some, through his Mason friends, to fund some revolution type stuff. But he kept going every year and getting more and more silver, and his groups got bigger and bigger. And a lot of times the story goes that he would use natives or people to do the work, and would kill them when they left, so they couldn't tell where the location of the mines were. So there's little bad karma there.
All right, and we're back. We had to take a bathroom break there. How long, Jack? How long have we been running so far?
About 2 hours.
All right, about 2 hours. So we're gonna kind of go for maybe another 30, 40, 50 minutes, an hour, or whatever. And then we'll probably at some point we're going to transition into the overtime and then membership, because just so people understand, we're going to get back on what we were just talking about. But like we've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this. I'm like, we've barely talked about the cave, because I started going down the archaeology route. So we are covering that, which is great. But you know, your treasure hunting journeys and stuff, we kind of touched on a little bit, but there's just so much. And this is one of the hardest things about doing this show, is that when you have somebody like you here, or even virtually, and you're trying to, as the conductor of the conversation, you're trying to figure out how to bring it all together, you know? And so we're just having a conversation and seeing where things go. But my Lord, I mean, we haven't touched the 3 Bigfoot encounters. We haven't touched the portal pictures.
Right, yeah.
Like all that. And so
we can actually move into that if you want. I mean,
we can, but I don't want to move away from what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And you pulled out more treasures and put them on the table with no story behind it. So like let's just keep it going where we were going. So you were talking about the legend of the Swiss silver mine.
Yeah.
So just keep it going, and we're gonna just see where this conversation goes.
Okay. So as I was saying, there's more than one mine, and they called them the upper and lower mines. And they would, a lot of times, they would have these big mule trains to carry the silver out. Sometimes when they were carrying the silver out, they would get attacked by natives, and maybe a horse or a mule got shot, and so now they've got silver that they've got to hide. So a lot of times they would bury kegs of coins or things of silver bars, you know, whatever, and they would leave Masonic signs or other signs on trees or rocks close by to mark it so they could find it later. And a lot of them they never did find later, and that happened quite a bit, where they would get attacked and lose some of their treasure. But eventually, he became a wealthy man and made quite a few trips to these mines, and was going back to England and helping finance some of his anti-king activities with the silver. He got arrested and thrown into the Tower of London and was there for years. While he was in the Tower of London, he lost most of his eyesight. So by the time he was released and came back to the States to try to pick up his mining operations, he could barely see. He had, the story goes, there's many versions, but one of the story goes that this lady in Bean Station, Tennessee, helped him go out and look for these treasures, these caches, these mines. But with his bad eyesight, he could never find it. And then he died and left his journals and maps to the lady at Bean Station. And that's where we get the legend from.
Where are these maps and journals now?
You can buy
No, the real ones.
the real ones. I don't know where the real ones are. They made copies, some drawings, and I've got a couple of books. One of them is by Michael Paul Henson, who's really into this and has done a great bit of research to help us all out on this. But so there's a couple of books, and you can, of course, online, but these maps, they're so vague. They'll have maybe a latitude on them and all kinds of secret symbols and stuff, and it's just so vague that it's hard to. And of course, a lot of those trees that they made the symbols on are gone, and a lot of times they would, like I said, they would wall up these mines to hide them, and they've just been lost to time.
How did you find the mine that you're talking about? And remind me, it's because it's been a few minutes here, but have you actually been to it yet?
No,
you haven't, but
No.
you know it's there.
I know exactly where it is.
So how did you find it, and how do you even know it's there if you've never been there?
Okay, years of research, and then my uncle telling me you could walk to it from here. But I started looking at old maps, old land deeds for the county where I live, and then I would look at topo maps and satellite maps, and in a very old document, I found a listing of more than one, but the one close to me, a silver mine. So it took a long time to find the right map, an old map that showed it on the map and said silver mine, X marks the spot. Well, that's the creek below my house. And so I started asking some of the old timers around there, my neighbors, have you ever heard about a silver mine or an old mine around here? Well, there's tons of old mines. It's, coal mines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I told this one guy, this old timer guy, where it looked like it was on the map. And he said, "Oh yeah, I know where that is. That's right below the pour over on the creek. And you go up to the left, and then it's right there on the right." And that's exactly where it showed on the map that I had found. And I talked to a couple more people who actually have a silver mine on I guess it's probably the top of that mountain that they've been trying to work recently, the last few years. So I know exactly where it is.
And this is on your property.
It's not on my property.
It's not. Okay.
It borders my property. Like
Who owns it?
It's National Forest, I think.
So if you found it, you'd have to talk to them about it then. It's not like you could just start digging in there, right?
Yeah, if it's National Forest. Actually, now that I think about it, I think that's the section that's not National Forest. There's borders on both sides. I think that's private land. But yeah, I would talk to the landowner, for sure. I know where a gold mine is too. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. The gold mine is right below the sacred mountain I told you about. Well, right there, the Civil War burial ground and the Indian burial ground that my father built a lake over.
Yeah.
Well, right at the head of that hollow is a gold mine. And I talked to the property owner. He said they worked it back in the late 1800s, mid 1800s, but with the technology that they had, they played it out. But that was mid 1800s. He said, you can go up there anytime you want, take your metal detector, and you probably find some gold.
And you haven't been up there yet
I haven't.
because you're waiting for somebody.
Exactly.
You found that somebody. like my job is to talk about crazy stuff, and going on the journeys is part of the job.
Man, that would be so awesome because I want to do it and I can't find anybody to go with me.
Which baffles me.
Yeah.
But maybe
I think people are too busy. They work. I'm retired, so
Yeah.
I got all the time in the world.
maybe the idea, maybe I'm overestimating about the number of people who have an adventurous spirit, because I have a show where a lot of people that listen to the show have adventurous spirits, but maybe as a broad whole, people don't have that.
They don't.
As life beats them up.
No, they don't.
Well, you found somebody who is a very unique situation,
That's great because
and I'm close to you.
Because like I said, the only person I know wants to go out at night in the rain.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do that too, but I mean,
No.
oh my gosh, Jack, you down? Jack says he's he's
Right
down.
on. We're doing it.
We're like very much doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah. I mean, you're 2.5 hours from me. I mean, as we said last night, you said we could stay at your
For
place.
sure, yeah.
But I mean, in all reality, if I had something to do the next day, like say I have an interview scheduled,
Right.
I could drive up, leave here at 6, be there at 8:30,
It's
spend
true.
a day hunting legends,
Yeah.
be back for bedtime
It's
to
true,
kiss
you
the kids
could.
goodnight.
Yeah.
It's wild, man. I am so... Well, that's the show, everybody. We're leaving.
We're going hunting right
We're
now.
going hunting. Forget about the rest of the stories. We're not interested in sharing with you. We're going to be self-serving today.